Throughout this chapter, we've been speaking about how to stand out and build a profile online. Well, one of the essentials of belonging to the professional community is to have a good profile on LinkedIn. This network has almost 400 million professionals just like you. And really not having a good profile on there is almost like being invisible. Today, I'd like to cover the essentials of a good LinkedIn profile. It's really not complicated, but get these things right and this will make a whole difference in how you position yourself. As an example, I'll just show my profile because I do take my own medicine. First of all, we are visual creatures. So, the saying goes that we process images 60,000 times faster than words. So it's really important what image you choose for your LinkedIn profile. And in my case, I'm a teacher or I'm an explainer. I like to get on camera. That's what I'm doing right now. And so for me, the ideal picture would be something that conveys what I do instantly. And so in this picture, I'm teaching something. So I'm running a class there. And that sort of immediately that makes sense in the mind of people. Somehow they can anchor what I do with that visual image 60,000 times faster. And for example, so I see a lot of people get this wrong because, for example, if you're in a position where people really need to trust you before they give you business, for example, then you shouldn't really have pictures of you hanging out at parties, or you shouldn't have those frivolous images of yourself. You really should have a picture that conveys that sort of trustworthiness and so on. So, for example, let's say you're a portfolio manager, it's a big deal because people have to trust you with their money. So you better make sure that the image you're using is something that's going to help people evoke that trust immediately. So ideally, or they want to see you at work. I like pictures where you see people do what they do. Effectively, you could sit in front of all your monitors, for example, as a trader. Or if you're a public relations person, you definitely want to be depicted as somebody who's getting along well with other people, someone who's in action. You see what I mean? So think about that picture and make sure that you find the right kind of image that represents what you do and what you stand for. But more than anything, think about the emotion you want to evoke with that picture. All right. Moving on, then we have the headline. Now the headline is also very important because that's the second thing people get to see. So even when you do a search or a browse, you get the picture and then the headline. And the headline, I'm never really happy with my headline, to tell you the truth. I'm continuously tweaking it. But the most important thing is that headline also says exactly what you do. With your headline, you have to think about what you want to achieve as well. I want to position myself mostly in the business development space. So that's why the keyword business development is in there. But I also want people to sort of understand that I'm a little bit different when it comes to business development because I'm always focusing on what's next in business development. Now, phrasing that to me, honestly, that's a bit of a challenge for me, but I came up with the future of business development in a hyper-connected world. That phrase says very clearly what's on my mind. But although it's not really ideal for search optimization or search results, the thing is, I really want the keyword business development to stand out. That's really what I want. I used to have investor on there because I do invest, but then you get all these people like proposing all sorts of not always very solid investment propositions. So you have to be careful what you put on there. In my case, what I want is to connect with people about business development. So think about that as well. A lot of people put in CEO and founder and things like that. It's good for the ego, I think, but you're going to get a lot of people. I mean, it's good. People are going to want to connect to you. That's a positive, I guess, but you're also going to get a lot of traffic that you may not want to deal with. So think about how you can state exactly what you do and what you want to achieve out of LinkedIn. Think about that. Look at a few other profiles of people with a lot of followers and see what we can find out about them. All right. Now, moving on. If you have content, by all means, and I always recommend you to write and publish content, by all means do that because it comes naturally in your profile. So people can see that you actually have ideas and thoughts about things. The next big important thing on your LinkedIn profile is your biography or your summary. And you have to rethink this one because I often see people write these CV style biographies, which are just basically one big block of text, and they read like the cover page of a CV. And that's really not inspiring. you have to make your biography work for you. You have to make it so it can get results for you, because the reason is, why are you on LinkedIn? Well, most of the time you're on LinkedIn because you want people to find you to do business with you, right? So let's have a look at my biography, and I'll tell you a little bit about how I went about this. I learned this from other people. This biography works quite well for me. So in the beginning, what I do is I provide a summary, very short, about who I am and what I believe in. And this is important because the who and what is also the why, and people are very interested in knowing why you do what you do. And so in 2 paragraphs, I put that one to bed. So I tell them that what my views are, what matters to me, and basically what I do about these views. But more importantly is you come into the place where you start building a call to action. And this is literally, how can I help you? And I put that in uppercase because I wanted to stand out. And then I very clearly explain what I do. I run practical on and offline training programs and so on. I make it very clear what I do and what I'm very interested in helping people with. And then most importantly of all, instead of saying what I do only, I also tell people what the outcome is. This is very important, that you make it very easy to understand why people should be looking at you as a counterparty or a provider or a service provider. In my case, I just state all the outcomes that my training programs will give you. And so once I've done that, and it's very clear what I can do for people and how I can add value, then I add my call to action. And this is where I drive people to my main place of business. That you have to think about what your objective really is. In my case, I want people to go to my site and give me their email so I can stay in touch with them. And because once I have people's email, I can stay in touch with them, then I can build a relationship and maybe turn that into a business opportunity. That's how I roll. Think about what you're trying to achieve, but clearly make it easy for them to go to your main place of business, ideally offering them something of value. So in my case, I offer them a free introduction course, or I offer them my insider letter where I share my best insights. So make sure that you have a call to action that is interesting enough for people to sign up. Maybe just like me, you have several roles. I have another role, which is Frontera, which is a professional network of emerging and frontier market focused investors and entrepreneurs. I also list it in there. And I also make it very easy for those who are interested in that part of my expertise to go to that website. So don't be shy in putting your websites up there. And then finally, you also want to make it easy for people to connect with you, because the more connections you have on LinkedIn, the more impact you can have with your content. And we're going to talk about content going forward, and you'll see how important that is. So what I just did is I created a special email account which I only use on LinkedIn. And this is very handy because it sort of, truth be told, LinkedIn is really working hard on this, and they're getting, it looks like they're getting results, but there is going to be an amount of spam through LinkedIn. But I create a special account for LinkedIn, so it's a different inbox. And in the event that I wind up on a spam list, it's not my main email. So it's not a good idea to use your main email as the email that you list for LinkedIn. If not, this is pretty simple. You can do LinkedIn @ and then whatever the extension is. That's I guess it's a burnable email, because in the case that you get too much spam, you can always get rid of that email address and get a new one for LinkedIn. So this is what I recommend, and that's why I make it easy for people to connect with me via that email. All the email that comes into that inbox, I know comes from LinkedIn. But it also, sometimes people need your email address to connect with you. And I just make it very easy. So use this address and you can connect with me. All right. So that's about the profile. Finally, I'd like to speak about endorsements or testimonials. These are very important because they give your profile an extra dimension of credibility. It's social proof. So getting endorsements is really not that difficult. It's easier than you think. The thing is, or the little secret is, that in order to get, you have to give first. So make endorsements about other people and ask them to reciprocate. And it's extremely easy to do so. Let me give you an example of how easy it is. Let's say Nilofer, she made a nice endorsement for me. If I go onto her profile, then in these options I can recommend. And when we've already been through this, her and I, but write a recommendation, write her a message to let her know that you've just written a recommendation, give all these details and send it. Now in this email, so after the recommendation, so like, this is my recommendation. I would much appreciate if you could do the same for me. And not everybody reciprocates in this, but you would be surprised that if 1 in 5 does it, well, for 5 endorsements, you just have to write 25 recommendations. And they don't have to be very long, because long recommendations are not very useful. Just a few phrases that say something amazing about someone does the trick. So get endorsements on your profile. It helps a lot. All right, that's all for now for the LinkedIn Profile 101. These are the fundamentals. Get these right, and then we're going to build on them. Thanks for watching.